Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel startuplanes.com. I am More Tanvi, and as you know, these are the series of interviews that we are conducting for the promotion of some brilliant startups across our country. Now the question is that why you should see this interview. You should watch this interview if you are a job seeker. You should watch this interview if you want to invest. You should watch this interview if you want to know about some excellent experiences which our startup owners go through. If you are related to startup or business, you should definitely watch our interviews and get inspired by some excellent stories. For today's interview, we have Ms. Sangeeta Prasad, the co-founder and director of Amiltus Apparel and Accessories Private Limited. She has around 34 years of experience in fashion industry. She has MS degree platform from Fashion Institute of Technology, New York, diploma in DMFC from SNDT University, Mumbai, BSc degree in statistics from Mumbai University. Also, visiting faculty at NIFT since 1995. Head Sales, Marketing and Operations at Amiltus. BW Business World and BW Dispute Award, Fashion and Lifestyle Woman. Entrepreneur of the Year Award 2019 article in January issue. Outlook Wow, Woman of Worth Award 2015 article in November issue. Also, the company was established in 1991. Initially was an export buying agency where they have assisted private limited label manufacturing for multinational brands such as Billabong, O'Neill, Roxy, etc. This gave them the first hand training in global standard and expectations. In 2019, company decided to branch out the domestic market leveraging and knowledge in manufacturing and design. Identified a huge gap in higher end fashion in ethnic wear category, which until then was only available in designer boutiques. Now let's jump into the interview directly and know about this wonderful startup and about Sangeeta from herself. So good afternoon, ma'am. I am More Tanvi from Startup Lanes, and we are very grateful to have you on the board for this interview.
Hi, good to have you. Good to be here.
Yeah. Ma'am, I will please request you to introduce yourself to our viewers.
Okay, my name is Sangeeta Prasad. I am a director at Amiltus Apparel and Accessories, which is a holding company for a few brands. The most known about among the brands is one called Ira Soleil. Ira Soleil is a mid-market, slightly value, special occasions brand for I would say the modern woman. It's for somebody who doesn't usually wear ethnic, who, I don't know, I think you dress Western most of the time. So if you were to go to a special occasion or a family function or festival or something, you would wear something from my collection. We are selling online and offline. It's been a good journey. Before this, for almost, that brings age into a factor. But before this, for almost 2 decades, we were a buying agency for exports. And we used to source for companies, multinational brands like Billabong, Roxy, O'Neill, Penny Plain. There are many. These are companies that are either franchisee owned and operating in different countries. So we used to source for them from India. Whatever they bought from India, they bought through us. That's what we did till we decided that, okay, let's put our foot here into the water. And it's been one roller coaster ride after that.
Great. So ma'am, my very first question is that how did you come up with this idea of startup?
Well, when I started thinking about the brand, I didn't know about startups. So, the company itself was launched many years ago, the buying agency, which I just explained to you. Yeah. We turned ourselves into a kind of startup inadvertently because we decided that we are going to give the domestic market a shot. And we did that parallelly. It's not like we stopped one company and started the other. We started it alongside, and because this one started running so fast, the other one stopped. And because this was a new venture, it became a startup. So yeah, in today's vocabulary, it's a startup. And for us, we turned ourselves into a new company, but wasn't planned, it just happened.
Okay. So ma'am, I want to ask that if you can recall, what was the most difficult part in the early stages of the journey?
Actually, honestly, the early stage wasn't difficult.
Okay.
It's the middle stage that's really hard.
Mhm.
Once you hit around 10 crores,
Okay.
life becomes a little difficult, because when we were in the good verticals, we were in Pantaloons, Trends, Central, Myntra, and everybody's in this race for growth. So if you're a brand and you're not able to give them 20, 25, 30% growth every year,
Mhm.
it's not good for them. And there's this pressure is always on your head, that you need to do that. And we hadn't even thought about funding at that point, and we realized that we can't do it on our own.
Mhm.
To grow in that kind of scale across verticals with your own money, that's the challenge. That was like realization coming to us, slightly later in the game. Honestly, if I'd known this when I started, I might have done things differently.
Okay. But I hope they are still great now.
Oh, the brand has fantastic traction. In fact, we have a problem that we have sales and we don't have merchandise. It's a very unique problem.
Okay.
And
Okay.
COVID hasn't helped.
Mhm.
COVID hasn't helped.
So I want to ask that, before commencement, what was the gap that you identified in the market?
There's a little story behind this. Can I tell you?
Yeah, sure.
So, now I'm old, but when we were young, looking good was part of you going out, right?
Yeah.
So, and even during I know it's a different kind of generation, but when we were young, we didn't really wear Indian. I didn't dress ethnic till I got married.
Okay.
So, when we used to have to go to functions, it's me and my sister who are in this business together. My mother was the third one. All of us we used to sew from a very early age, because my mother she was always making stuff for us.
Mhm.
So we all knew how. So if we had to go somewhere special, it was either make your own or go looking like an auntie. And trust me, that's not what you want to do. This is like, the most important functions. There weren't that many outings that you went to. It was mostly family functions, Diwali, Holi, Dashera, or weddings, Sangeet, somebody's Namkaran. And you're looking like a amma over there. That was not fun. It was not fun. And for most times, we would, prepare in advance, make our own stuff. And we made nice clothes. So they were always specially turned out. But if you didn't get time, mama's sari. And, you didn't look your best then. And okay, that was one part. And then I had my daughter grow up, and my sister had her daughter grow up, and my God, trying to take them to a function, a traditional function, was murder. Either you shell out a whole, if you only get nice clothes in a designer boutique, and you're not going to spend 30,000 bucks for one day. We weren't like that. Till now, I can never shop clothes because I make clothes. So it used to be a constant war.
Mhm.
What can I wear? I'm not wearing this. I look awful in this. And you went to a brand, even today, now that we launched our brand, there are one or two brands that have started focusing. But it's so incredible that India, with all these festivals, we have 27 festival holidays in a year, right?
Yeah.
Even in spite of that, brands don't make specially for special occasions. They make 10% of their collection, which is called Little Gota Burbi. Otherwise, they expect you to go to a boutique and buy your things. They don't bring it to mainstream.
Mhm.
That gap was staring me in the face since I was like 10. I knew it was there. And when we decided to launch the brand, when we looked around and said, you know what, it's still there. Nobody is making for it. It's a risk, right? You don't want to make very fashionable clothes because you're afraid people may not buy it.
Mhm.
It's easier to sell a t-shirt version of a kurti,
Yeah.
So a t-shirt has a round neck and sleeve and maybe a collar. And a kurti has 3 buttons, 4 buttons, a stand collar, but it's basically a t-shirt version, right, for women. So people just stuck to that. They made a yellow kurti, they made a red kurti. If you want to search for something, you would be going to standalone stores in Juhu Gali or, Seaface, Bandra to search for stuff. You just couldn't find it. So the gap was always there. I always knew the gap was there.
Mhm.
So it was like, okay, now we're making clothes. All right, this is what we need to do.
the problem is still there if you ask me, because we still can't find ready-made ethnic clothes if we are shopping online, especially
Go
here
look
in
at my
lockdown.
brand. Go
Sure.
look at my. You have to look at my brand. It's meant for the 17s to 30-year-olds. It's meant for people who are dressing very stylishly in their non-festive days,
Mhm.
and then they are having to look like dowdy frumps on the days that they want to look special.
Okay.
It's very funky. It's nice stuff. You should see it.
Okay. So my next question to you is that what is your exactly business model?
See, initially when we started, it was like an autopilot thing. We didn't really analyze. We didn't know anything about domestic market. Okay, let me first put that disclaimer out. We had no idea how this market operates. We knew that because of the online players coming in, it had become slightly corporatized, but not majorly. There is still a very person-driven industry, whereas in our export days, life was very simple. You went to the customer, you put your terms on the table, they either accepted it or you discussed it and you came to a middle ground and it worked. And especially money was very, very clean and very frankly discussed.
Yeah.
Whereas in India, it was, you don't trust me, how can you work like that? So it was a very different market. But because the first collection we showed was to Jabong, and they had only a sale or return process in their warehouse. So really, we went with the tide.
Okay.
So the business model kind of evolved, driven by the verticals that we went in. We went to Jabong, then Myntra, and then Pantaloons. Mm-hmm. So everybody was on sale or return. Now today, if I had to do this all over again, I might choose not to go in. I might choose to only do wholesale or something, because the money is, the turnaround is faster.
Yeah.
If you like, I could explain that to you.
Yeah.
This is time. Okay. So what happens is whenever you have inventory, your sale is a function of your inventory essentially. So if you have 100 pieces, you will sell between 20 to 30 pieces, maybe 50, and then a portion of it will come back, right? It will be returned due to either couriers not delivering or customer not changing their mind, not wanting it anymore, stuff like that. So it's inherent especially on online, it's an inherent part of the package that you get. Now, in offline, it's not so bad, but then the sell-through is smaller. You don't sell 30% of your inventory there, you sell 15 to 20. Okay. So essentially, you're holding 80, you sell 20, you're holding 80, and you should have the staying power to hold that 80. Now, in the initial period, it doesn't matter because with 30, 40 pieces you're selling, it really doesn't matter, you have 200 pieces. But as you grow and the inventory becomes heavier and heavier, then you have crores locked up in inventory which is sitting on somebody's floor. Not a great model. We need to evolve beyond this. And it's basically a buyer's market because there are only 4 or 5 chain stores. There are only 3, 4 big portals. So you can't dictate to them. So you need to find other markets. We are looking offshore.
So I'm answering my earlier questions. In a gist, you have explained your products and services, but still I want you to specify your products and services which you deliver to your customers.
So we make, let's say, we are like a ethnic Zara. Okay, if that makes sense to you. I'm trying to, in my mind, formulate how that works. Zara is a fast fashion brand. Mm-hmm. It looks around in all the major fashion shows, picks up all the elements that they like, and they quickly turn it into commercialized but higher fashion styles and hit their floors in less than 2 months. Okay. We do the same thing except that we do it in an ethnic. We do look at international silhouettes. We are not driven by the Indian silhouette because there ain't no Indian silhouette. There is nothing there. It's that one long kurta with 2 sleeves and 3 buttons. So you can't really, get inspired by that. So we follow international trends. We make sure that we are on point when it comes to colors and shapes and fits and fabrics. Mm-hmm. But we make them ethnic by using heritage, either print, embroidery, things on it. So it becomes an Indianized version. If you watch any retro movies, did you know Audrey Hepburn and Babita and Sadhna?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what essentially Babita and Sadhna and company used to do was they would look at like a style icon like in Audrey.
Mm-hmm.
And Audrey used to wear, say, a lot of Schiaparelli and Balenciaga, right?
Okay.
So they had the tent dresses, and so they would copy the same thing except they wear it with a churidar and a dupatta. Essentially, we kind of do the same thing. We pick up international silhouettes and we bring them in, and we, make them to our size and, feel and signature. But we Indianize it by adding paisley print or an embroidery or something like that to it. Sometimes we don't even do that. We just add leggings and it becomes Indian.
Okay.
So we are essentially not designing ethnic. We actually design Western, but we present it in an ethnic way, and that's why it kind of vibes well with the customer. That because they are used to wearing, say, a Vera Moda or Only, and brands like that, or Zara's, and then they find similar kind of feel and aesthetics in our designs. And we start with a kurti, top kurti, whatever, and we go right up to a wedding lehenga.
Okay.
But it's a westernized, more contemporary take on whatever they want to wear, and it's a very wide closet. You're looking at something that you would wear for let's say a brunch. Right up to a wedding, except for the bride. We don't dress the bride.
Okay. So talking about customers, ma'am, who exactly your target customers are?
My customer, I won't say target right now, but my customer whom I've stalked on Facebook all the time, a very slimy person. I see mostly, there's a very common thread between the girls who are buying. It doesn't matter, city, town, doesn't matter. She could be in Gorakhpur, and I have fantastic sales in Gorakhpur. Or she could be in Delhi NCR or Mumbai, Hyderabad, Delhi. It doesn't matter. It's a young girl. It's a feisty young person. It's somebody who's got an independent mind. I'll tell you why I'm saying it also. And she likes. She's not a conformist. She doesn't follow trends blindly. She's not a fashion victim. She may not be a full follower. I mean, she may not be a full influencer, but she's definitely not a blind follower.
Okay.
They tend to be aspirational because my prices are extremely, extremely sharp. Like our lehengas sell for anything from 5,000 to 8,000. We don't usually cross 10.
Okay.
During puja or something, when we make something really heavy, but we don't usually cross 10. My ASP is about 1,800 to 2,200 and offline, online. And very heavy pieces also, 6,000 to 7,000. So this is a customer who's value conscious. She doesn't like to spend unnecessarily, but she is very, very social media, active. So what happens? She buys something and then she can't wear it again. So that's one of my most loyal customers. The girl who is active, who posts pictures, and who continuously needs new styles.
Yeah.
So I'll just tell you why. We make modular clothing. We don't present you a full set, buy it or leave it.
Okay.
You can style your own. You can buy this blouse with that dupatta, and it's a modular thing. And why do we do that? Firstly, because it gives you the option of not buying an item, and you might buy a whole set and say, I've got 3 cream churidars, why do I need this? So you could not buy it. It's up to you. Second is that you can change your look like that because you bought a top and you got a skirt, and now you've bought another top or a dupatta, and it looks completely different. So while we are a fast fashion brand, we are trying to be nice by increasing the use of our products. We are not forcing you to have one look and then you are on social and everyone's seen it and now you can't wear it again. It doesn't work like that with us. You can change your look dramatically by changing just 1 or 2 items. We go further from there by making reversible styles. Almost 40% of our collection is reversible.
Okay.
And by reversible, it is 2 entirely different garments, this side and that side.
Okay.
So you could have we have like a wine gown, which is very Western. It has Western floral print. And on the other side, we have a dupion gown again, but it's in a different color, different print. So you could actually just carry one dress and wear it to 2 very important functions and nobody will know. Okay. And the best part is we try not to let the price change too much, because we're only using that much extra in the fabric and we are a little bit on the CMT. So it's not like it'll cost you double. You may end up paying maybe 15-20% extra. So what happens is that you bought one dress, but now you can wear it for at least 2 important functions. If you buy a skirt top set, you can wear it for 4 functions because it has 4 different looks. So that's how we try to, be a little sustainable. We are copying silk, so the only way to copy silk is to use polyesters. But this is our effort, that it is fast fashion, but we try to slow it down by giving you reuse. So my customer loves that. I get mails, calls, SMSs saying, I bought this, do you have any other reversibles coming? We are very innovative. I think that is one of the reasons. Also, now the girl she travels a lot, she's a foodie. She's not looking to blend into the room, when she comes. She wants to make an entrance. And our styles are very unique. They look different. When you do go and look at it, you'll know. And it's very graphic because, of course, we are selling online, right?
Yeah.
So the graphic appeal of the piece has to be eye-catching. You should, when you see 30 styles live, you should be able to go and pin at my style, right? So it should not look like any other style. It has to have its own USP. So when she enters a room, she makes an entrance. And she likes it. So that's basically my customer.
Okay. So I would love to tell my viewers that within 15 to 20 minutes, being a girl, I am convinced with the brand and ma'am. So yeah. So my next question is similar to that. As we have discussed earlier, that you have an already established market out there. So what differs you from your competitors? Can you please list down few unique features about your company?
I think 2 or 3 things. We bring immense value, right? So we are giving you something that you would ideally buy in a boutique in Juhu. You're buying it online from the convenience of your home, or you're buying it from a mall somewhere nearby, but it's from a commercial place where all the competition is sitting around me and I have to stand out in that competition. So it's only our design innovation that can keep us differentiated. The second would be our kick-ass attitude. We are not conforming to what everyone else is doing. In fact, I always say this, that if you took all the other brands except 1 or 2 and you took their labels off and you put them into a big pile, trust me, even the designer won't know which one was worse because they're all making the same thing.
Okay.
What's the point? So we are different. We look different, we feel different, and we have an attitude. And thirdly, I think most important is the price.
Okay.
Because we are giving you something designer value, we're not charging you designer. We're charging you realistically what you should be paying for something like that.
Okay. Fair enough.
And really very innovative. Can I show you a product?
Yeah.
Innovations. Just quickly. This is a mask we created.
Okay.
Can you see?
Yeah.
It's a transparent mask. So as soon as Corona hit and the mask came on, I was like so offended. I'm old, but still, I don't want to go around covering my face like this every day. So we started working. Last May we started working, and this May we launched it. It's made with a mold. It's a very expensive process, but it's completely transparent, and you can actually wear lipstick and smile at somebody, and they can see you.
Yeah.
That's what my customer likes about us, because we think on our feet and we think like them, and I think that it's doing really well. We're selling from our website almost 120 pieces a day. It's fun.
That's great, ma'am. So ma'am, till now we have talked about your customers, we have talked about your products and services. The next thing I want to know, that if a job applicant is seeking for a job, so why he or she should choose to work with you?
I think it's because of the level of self-respect they get in our company. I would talk to everybody just like I'm talking to you. The entire company talks like that to everybody. It doesn't matter whether it's senior, junior, what. I talk to my employees just like I talk to my customer. Just polite and nice and friendly, and we all eat together. Well, they all eat together. I eat on my table. But and we have it's a kind of ownership. So almost everybody in the company has their keys. They come, they work, they go, no questions asked. As long as I don't need to call them and chase them. I don't care what time they worked and how they worked. And I have people who've been with us for 15 years plus. And there are people who have left and come back
Mhm.
because the way they get treated here. The one thing that I say to everybody who comes for an interview to me is join only
Mhm.
if you can consider this your Bakka company.
Okay.
If you can't, don't come. Because you should be invested in the company. You should know that you are one of the linchpins here. If you decide to fall, we'll all fall with you.
Okay.
So everybody that I have are they're gold.
Yeah.
I'm wasting your time now.
No, that's okay. Continue.
During the first lockdown, we were closed till May end, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then by then we had already started working on a mask. I made a permission for a mask. And my warehouse, people can't travel, there were no trains, no buses.
Yeah.
My warehouse started working exactly on the day they were permitted to. How they all came in buses, tempos, whatever, they came to the warehouse and they just lived there.
Okay.
They didn't go. They did that in the second lockdown also. You don't have to ask, they just do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they invested in the company and they know that if we grow, they'll grow. It's a mutual thing. I really think it's the empathy and the respect.
That's great, ma'am. Ma'am, talking about the warehouse and stuff, I want to know that are you looking for vendors to simplify any part of your business right now?
I would love to go more tech. I
Okay.
can't afford it right now because the second lockdown is like, you know that toy that you have that you keep punching and it falls down and it stands up again. So we are like that toy right now.
Mhm.
Just getting hammered every time. But I would love to have help there. If somebody could guide us. I think that, it's the drawback for us to be in this kind of innovation and this kind of, product development, nimbleness. And we are still a brick and mortar company. We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. We have immense traction across. I think we're one of the few brands that are equally strong. If you told me to choose between online and offline, I'd be pressed. I don't know. We sell equally between them. We also sell as well abroad. So we really need to cross border. We really need to, make it easier for the customer to transact, to choose, to fit. I need help. I need help there.
Okay. So, ma'am, what are your recent and long-term plans for your business?
Recent is about survival.
Yeah.
It's going to become about, are you going to be alive the next day? Because everybody above us seem to consider that COVID is over, it's gone. Except for the banks. They are not letting up.
Yeah.
But it's always been my aim to bring this. There are two markets for us. One is the low-hanging fruit, which is the Indian diaspora everywhere in the world. We sell really well to them. I mean, there's such a dearth of product. They don't have access to nice styles. Whatever stores are there also. If it was open in 1970, the store owner is still stocking things from 1970 there. They don't upgrade, they haven't upgraded their vendors, supplies, anything. And the second, more importantly, is when we went on Amazon.com, we realized that almost 40% of our sale was to non-Asians. We're not selling to Indian, Pakistani, Malaysia and all only. We're selling to mainstream, white, Caucasian, the Native American. We're selling to them. We're not, and everyone's buying. So that's a huge market. We can replicate what we can do in India with every country in the world, literally. I mean, maybe I won't go to, North Korea, but everywhere else, the market's ready for you. I'll tell you why also. Because of the way the recession has hit since 2009, right? Everyone's been battered and one after the other disruptive events. So people have gone very safe. They've gone very, very commercial. But I feel, that as a young person, if you're going to wear a version of what the girl next to you or the girl next to you is going to wear, where's the excitement? Why would you go pay an extra $1 for something where you know that in the room that you walk into, at least 5 people will look just like you? But you would spend that extra buck if I told you that you will be unique over there. I think that, I think that all over consumers are ready to pay, but brands, stores, portals, they're not willing to take the risk.
Okay.
If you don't take the risk, you're always going to stay on this side of the road. You will never run in the middle. And I think that we are capable of running in the middle.
Okay. So my next question to you is that are you planning to raise external funds right now? And if not now, then are you planning to do so in the near future?
Yes. I had a term sheet in February
Okay.
2020. Guess what happened? Yeah. So we lost it. We do need funds. Like I said, the growth and the scale up can only happen if we get a partner.
Mhm.
We are in talks with a couple of people. Not sure how it will go, but yes, we do need to find somebody now to work with us. It's important.
Ma'am, lastly, I would love to hear feedback on Startup Lanes, and also if you want to thank someone from your team or friends and family, please go ahead.
Like I said, my team is gold. So everyone who works for me, who's worked with me in the past, they've all helped us grow.
Mhm.
So rather than name, Team Amaltas is just awesome. Everybody is concerned, everybody is worried, everyone's worried. And when it comes to staff, friends and family, I mean, they have to stand by you, right? They didn't have a choice. But yeah, I have a fantastic family too. So does my sister. My mother is just, she's from another planet.
Yeah.
Startup Lanes I've always associated with Shishir. I've been following him on LinkedIn, I think, for 5 years, maybe more.
Okay.
Without meaning to sound like I'm buttering him up,
Mhm.
he comes across as one of the kindest people I've seen among VCs, and he puts himself out there and he lets people take shots at him because he puts himself out there. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Whether as a lender or an investor, I'm not really sure what your track record is,
Mhm.
but after the COVID, especially, your track record as human is way up there, way up there. The way he's given jobs to people, the way he's put out posts and appealed for help and things. Oh, it's commendable. I wish I had that, that weight in the to make that difference. I don't, but that's something I would really appreciate.
Also, thank you, ma'am. It was lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for your time and your crucial words.
It was sweet of you to call me. I always suffer from the imposter syndrome, and I don't know why anybody would want to talk to me. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Take care.